I am delighted to be here to talk to you a little bit about the work that we've done to break bias at BlackRock. And this journey starts about 18 months ago when we initially began working with NLI, and we looked at a lot of different solutions, and we settled on NLI, and we partnered with them because it was clear, it was action-oriented, it gave people some very simple and powerful frameworks to work on. Having said that, we're proud of the progress that we've made, but we also are very acutely aware that this is a journey, one that takes a lot of iteration, a lot of experimentation. And so it's really exciting to be here today because part of experimenting and evolving is having conversations and sharing practices. Let me give you a little bit of an overview of BlackRock. We are an asset management firm. We have over $4 trillion in assets under management. It means that we manage more pension funds than anybody else in the world. So teachers, firemen, their retirement is in our hands, and we take that very, very seriously. The other very important point to know about BlackRock is that we are a very global organization. We've got clients, we've got employees in over 100 countries in the world. And the final thing I will say, and it's important as we think about the diversity and inclusion efforts, is one of the key points in our business strategy is that we have one of the most diversified investment platforms of anybody in the world. And we see that as a very distinct competitive advantage. So what that means is that we think about diversity not just in terms of our people, but in terms of our ultimate business success. And that really gives us a strong anchor for a lot of this work. This slide kind of talks and outlines what our business case, so to speak, for diversity is. We've talked about a lot of these points in other sessions during the conference. I think they should all be familiar. The one I want to focus in on is groupthink. Again, this is one of the arguments that's most salient to our people, particularly our investors. One of our most senior investors likes to say nothing will ruin a good investment team faster than groupthink. You really need that ability to test, to challenge, to really help people see perspectives they may not be seeing. So this is an important piece of how we ground the work that we do. So when we went to address bias and unconscious bias, we had some simple but pretty ambitious goals. As Jackie mentioned, it was extremely important to us that we have a common language for calling out and addressing bias. You know, we needed language that worked as well in Paris, as in Brazil, as in New York. And Seeds gave us that language. We wanted to provide workshops starting at the top in order to build awareness. We wanted to embed techniques into all of our processes and communications. That was really important so that we're reinforcing this continuously. And the final piece is we wanted to give people a toolkit so that they could take action in their day-to-day. So what did we do? Well, we created, working with NLI, Driving Better Decisions. And that's one important point at the outset. We very consciously called it Driving Better Decisions rather than something related to talent or diversity, because we wanted to reinforce that this impacts all decisions. We had some pretty clear objectives. We wanted to help our people understand bias. We wanted to equip them to mitigate bias. And very importantly, we wanted to make it the norm to intervene around bias, to have that kind of pattern of behavior so that it wasn't the unusual. So you can see the list of things that we did to drive awareness and adoption of those practices listed in the bottom of this slide. I think that those things were incredibly important. One point I would highlight is that you have to look at this as a campaign, not a training. You know, you can start with raising awareness, but you have to have that constant trickle of reminders, nudges, information, snap back to reality kinds of interventions that help people to act as they intend to act. So what I'm going to do is highlight one of the tools and one of the mechanisms for that happily emerged organically, and I think that goes to the whole fact of we're all experimenting with this. But if you look at the bottom of this slide, you'll see that there are some photographs of people holding up cards. And those cards are their personal if-then plans that they created when they went through the initial training. And these are all leaders across our organization. This, as I said, emerged organically in one of the sessions that we did in Asia Pac. And afterwards, one of the leaders and one of the HR leaders in the region had the idea of let's all post our if-thens, let's take simple cell phone photographs. They put them up around the office. And what it did was it very powerfully established leader accountability and role modeling. It invited others to help that leader actually hold to that if-then plan. And it gave others inspiration of what their if-thens could be. So from Asia Pac, it then spread across the globe happily to actually we've got a page on our intranet where leaders and individuals post their if-thens. So again, a simple but powerful way of reinforcing it in the culture. The impact has been quite promising so far. We're actually up at about 2,900 individuals at BlackRock who've gone through the Driving Better Decisions training. As you can see there, strong feedback that this is something that's applicable and that they're using it in their day-to-day. I think the other thing that we're seeing anecdotally is that people are referring to seeds in a lot of different discussions. So when they're going through the decisions around talent, hiring, you're hearing people talk about similarity bias, expedience bias. So that's anecdotal. What I will say is we do want this to ultimately, really impact all of our decisions. So that's what we're driving for. And I will add one other point in terms of evidence of some improvement that we're seeing or the outcomes that we're looking for. Since we launched the program, we have steadily seen an increase in diverse candidate slates for open roles. But we've also seen continual increase in the number of new hires who are women and who are ethnic minorities in the US. So we're seeing both attitudes, behaviors, and then outcomes are changing.